All right, so as promised, let's add our user interface layer to our game here. So if we go up to our, what have we got here? Game object menu, and we come down to user interface, there's a bunch of ways we can do this. If we add a text field, we will get a canvas and an event system, or we can add the canvas. If I add the canvas, then I can go back and add the text box to it. Well, let me just show you what happens if we add the text box. The text box needs to be attached to a canvas, and the canvas has to have an event system. So if you just add the text box, you'll get the whole ball of wax. You'll get the whole thing right there. So now let's double click on our text box there, and it's kind of hard to figure out. I have a hard time placing these things, but let me put this up here, and let's give this a name. Let's change the name here. We'll call it like score, player score text or something like that. And you know what? Let's change the color so it's a little bit more visible. Let's change it to be white or something. There we go. And I guess I could change the font if I wanted to. Maybe I'll make it like 18 or something. And then let me duplicate this, and I'll rename it to be like donkey score text or something. And let me go hit enter. Okay, so there now I've got two text fields there, and one of them is now kind of on top of the other. So let me use the move tool here to kind of bring one of them down. I'm not going to worry if they're not perfectly lined up. All right, so there's my user interface layer. Now let's go. Now how do we change the text in those fields? Well, let's just click on one of these controls here, the player text. And you'll notice that this player score text control has a text script on it that has a text field. So to set the text in this thing, I have to like get this control, then go into its text script and set the text property in the text script. So it's going to be like control.text.text. Very clunky, but that's how it is. Now let's go to the controller script, and you'll see that it has slots to drag in text boxes. So let me, oh wait, it's not the donkey, it's the cow, whatever, cow, donkey. Okay, so let me go back to the controller and now see where it says score, cow score control. Let me drag this control over here from the hierarchy panel into the inspector. So now the script, when it can change, it has access to this control, and it can update the value in that control. And then let's take the player score control. I'm going to drag this over here into the control script, and now I'm going to save my scenes here. And so now it looks like I've got everything wired up. Let's just go to the game view here, and you can see that there's our user interface layer. Now it just starts off saying new text, new text. Maybe you know what we want to do is go in there and change the text boxes to have a 0 in them for now. And now if I run this, let's just see if it works. So now you can see the game is now updating those text fields. You can see that the text changed, and the player has to get all the way to the top to get a point. However, the cow gets a point anytime the player crashes. So let's just crash this thing and see that it works. So the cow got a point, and now it's going to kind of regenerate and start going again. So you can see that is actually working. Now let's go take a look at the code for that, and I'll just show you what it's doing so you don't feel like it's all baffling. But here's the controller script has got a lot of stuff in it, but you can see that I'm bringing in a package which has got the user interface, the text box controls in it. And if I scroll down here, you can see that I have a text control and called cow score control and a text control called player score control. These are the fields in the inspector where we drag those controls into. And then let's go see in our script where we actually update those. So let me search in my code. so in this script, there is a function called, oh no wait, not on trigger enter, that's not what I want. I think it's on GUI, on graphic user interface. And you can, what it's doing here is it's saying if the control isn't null, which means we drag something into the slot. Oops. Oh, for the love of God, my mouse gets stuck sometimes. On GUI, there we go. So if the control has been set, then go into that control and set its text property to that, right? And if the control has been set, then set its text property to that, right? So that's how you wire this stuff up. You create public variables, and these public variables show up in the inspector, and then you can drag other controls or other objects into those fields, and that's how you kind of get objects wired up to other objects. It took me a long time to actually kind of wrap my brain around how that worked, because it's not necessarily obvious. All right, there we go. I think we're missing some sound effects though. So one more video, we'll add some sound effects.